Hey, welcome back to the show. It's John Clark here. I'm a therapist, a group practice owner, and a business coach at privatepracticeworkshop.com, helping you build a better business without all the overwhelm. And I'm really excited to have what feels like an old friend on the show.
Yeah, that's right.
If you can call it that in internet years and internet, life. Jake
Kind of
Kramer
like
is
dog
the,
years,
yeah,
internet
exactly.
years.
Jake Kramer is the co-owner, director, and a creative at artillerymedia.com. Artillery builds websites using a strategic approach designed to grow businesses. Jake's strengths shine in strategy, communication, and organization. He's got a passion for the problem-solving aspect of design and the challenges it brings. He has a bachelor's in marketing from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and a minor in music. He can be found on the court playing a pickup game, on the road playing guitar and fiddle, or at his desk crafting. Jake, it's so good to see you, and thank you again for coming on the show. My
Thanks again for having me.
listeners, they hear me mention artillery like 5 times a week, so they're like,
Yes.
they're ready to get it right from the source finally. You've been on the show, but it's great to get you back and just maybe diving right in. I'd love to hear a bit about just to catch people up how you got here in designing websites, what your kind of focus is. You've built some gorgeous websites, but both for me and for a lot of my clients. So you're very familiar with what what a business owner website, but you're even more familiar really with therapists too at this point, which I think is great for our audience. So yeah, how did you get here, and really what are you guys focusing on now? And then we'll get
Yeah.
into some of the kind of best practices for website development here. And as always, for the folks here who are here live, you can start asking your questions in the chat and we'll pull them up just naturally throughout the show.
Awesome. Sure. My short story is I went to a small private high school, went to a University of Nebraska Lincoln, go Big Red. And I was just like any other kid. I had no idea what I wanted to do or be. I thought I wanted to be pre-med, thought I wanted to do a lot of things. And I did the college thing, toured a bunch of professionals, figured out I didn't want to be a lot of things. And as I was going through that, I stumbled across a guy named John who was a musician first. That was just he is a musician. He's a creative. He's just one of those guys. So he had this thing called Artillery. It was really fresh. It was tiny. It was nothing like it is now.
Yeah.
It was just him behind a old school MacBook, the ones with like the first ones with like the disk drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had one
MacBook
of those
Pros.
too. And I always had like the 15-inch ones. In fact, I pulled it out the other day and pulled my back at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, it didn't even seem that long ago, but I was pulling it out and I was like, did I really use this and carry it around,
Yeah.
daily?
And there
And
were
it's
some,
like 4 inches
those
thick.
old ones had like the hard drive disk and they're so slow. Anyway,
Yeah, overheats. Yeah.
so one of those, John found me. Hey, you should be our fiddle player for this country band. Okay, that's cool. I'm 17. I'm getting into bars and playing country music. It's a blast. And I switch over to business, and I do pretty well in school. And I just want to kind of be a freelancer. Want to kind of be a solopreneur, entrepreneur. John was like, hey, try out this WordPress stuff. That was 2012. And he kind of taught me the ropes. I kind of taught myself. And fast forward to today. So I was coming up on 10 years that we've been doing this together. And yeah, fast forward to today, we do about 70, 75 websites per year that we copyright, brand, build, and host, launch, support, ongoing.
So cool.
Yeah, we do quite a bit of volume now. We have a team. It's myself and John. We co-own Artillery. And then my wife, Haley, she's our project manager. So she's the real boss. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
And
she's standing over your shoulder right now.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah,
don't say anything dumb.
Yeah. Okay. All right, honey. I got it.
She's like, don't just talk about yourself and your guitars.
Yeah, she keeps us all in order for real though. And so it's us. It's Kyle. He's awesome. He actually went through John's course, Break into Web, and we found him through that and through, he's actually from Lincoln too. So yeah. And then now we have a couple interns, couple part-timers, several affiliates, several other contractors. So yeah, we're rocking and rolling these
on
days.
The growth. Yeah. I mean,
Thank
you guys
you.
have grown a ton even since I worked with you, and you guys built the Private Practice Workshop site. So a site that a lot of our listeners are hopefully familiar with, or if not, then hopefully they're feverishly clicking on it right now to get familiar with it. What's interesting to me is in terms of how you got here, there's kind of two components of how a website gets made. One is the kind of technical web development side, the what's happening in creating the code that's making it all look pretty, and then there's the making it look pretty part, the actual design. And in some situations, this person is one person, in some it's a whole team. And it's almost two different sides of the brain. Well, it is quite literally two different sides of the brain. But how do you think about that piece, and how do you guys make sure you're kind of handling both on the team?
Great question, man. Great question. So there is so much creating when it comes to building a website. There's a lot. There's, like you said, the code that we're building it on. If we can get super basic, and we use WordPress and we build in the Divi theme. If anyone's wondering or curious, we could talk about that more in a bit if we want to. But so there's that part, but there's also the UI, the UX, the user interface. I like to use the example of Craigslist. Craigslist is really strong UI, which I like to say is the bridge that gets us where we're going. But you go there, you hit tab, you search trucks, boom, all the trucks, there they are. But are they?
You know, my browser history, I was just on Craigslist looking at SUVs, but now it's flooded with dealerships, and I'm like, no, I want like some guy who's going to give me an insane deal for cash like later today.
That's Facebook Marketplace now.
And that's true. But they haven't changed anything about Craigslist all this time, and it's still just as easy to navigate.
But you know what Craigslist is? So great UI, but then there's UX, the feeling we get when we arrive. But then at the same time, there's also really good, strong copywriting, really strong material that we're starting with. What are the 3 questions that we want to answer in 2 seconds when someone lands on a website?
Get your pens out. Here we go.
Who are you? How does it make my life better? What do I need to do? There's beats that we have to hit. So to answer your question, there's so much creating, and it can feel like we're kind of building the airplane as we're flying through the air. But following a formula helps, and following a process helps. Making sure that we have a gas pedal and a brake. But we can also be creative in the ways that we can be creative. So, I mean, to answer your question, I guess you kind of asked about how do we balance all that, and how do we, and it's creation, but it's also, there's some science to it. So yeah, I mean, it's a fun experience. It's a new project every time. With every client gets a new thing. It's definitely not copy paste by any means, but we follow a process that seems to work for a lot of folks now, and that excites me. It excites the team too.
Yeah. I mean, I just think the difference between the difference, a high caliber website, the difference is felt immediately, and a lot of marketing is about trust, right? So I land on a website. I landed on one earlier today, and I was completely overwhelmed by the menu. Things were completely out of place. Text was just in really random sizing, and I had no idea where to go. And by the way, if in our case as therapists, if I'm already traumatized and overwhelmed, and then your header traumatized me even further, that doesn't build trust.
Right? Not at all. I
solve this painful problem in my life. Can you solve it now? And can you show me where to go next if I'm interested in having your help in solving it? Right? Like, there's a big part of the purpose of a website is to inform, create that relationship, but also to get you off of the website and onto a call or whatever it may be. Right?
Yeah. What's the purpose? What are we even doing here? What's going on? You land on a website that is just cluttered. I have this slide in my first call pitch deck, and this particular slide is this guy. It's like the world champion bowling ball holder or something like that. He's holding like 12 bowling balls or something. I don't know how many bowling balls a guy can hold. Anyway, I have this slide and it's like this, this. And I say, this is the common website. I'm holding, and the visitor can only hold so many bowling balls, and you throw so many things at them, and then you throw a pop-up in their face.
Yeah.
And what do you think they're going to do? They're not going to trust you. They don't want to be a part of that. And yeah, it's a bummer. It's a common problem. But, Mark Twain has this quote that goes, I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long letter instead.
Yeah.
And that is exactly that website's problem. It's just
Totally.
the first thought I have, oh, let's put this there. That must be where it goes.
Yeah.
Oh man. Imagine if houses were built that way. It'd be a mess.
Totally. It's funny you say that. I was looking at a site earlier today of one of our students, and he's a really good writer, and we get so used to, in an academic setting, like more is more, more is better, and it's like, gotta hit my word count. And for about the first few paragraphs, I was like, wow, this is really good. And then 7 more paragraphs in, I was like, now I'm super lost. I don't know where where I'm kind of losing the plot a little bit. And it's at the risk of overwhelming the person and trying to do too much, or trying to be too much of an expert. And so again, I think consumers need just enough information and just enough of an experience to go, am I willing to make a call now? Am I willing to call or take the next step, click on that call to action, book a free consult, whatever it is in our case?
Right.
And so it's a real more art than science at times of, how do we give people just enough to not overwhelm them, but to lead them into that next step of our sales process?
That's a tough balance.
Yeah.
Every single client, every single lead asks that question. How much should I give away of my process, of my magic, Well,
and I think here, talking about some of the core pages of your site, right? Homepage, bio page, services pages. There are opportunities and places where you can get really into the nitty gritty, like your blog or wherever, where you're really going into teaching people in some fine detail about things and getting into more of an academic, mode. But not necessarily getting into that mode on your homepage and places where you're just trying to get people nodding at first, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You want to get them with the hook, and there are beats, and Google gives us data and information, and there are super duper quadruple nerds who are way smarter than me, who break down said data, and then I watch that YouTube video, and and so there are beats that are common, that are like, hey, we need to do these things. These are what users are doing.
Yeah.
And we should listen to what the science says, listen to what user behavior is doing, and keep up to date on that. And like you say, really focus on, how am I serving the person visiting this website here? How am I really serving them?
A little further into some of these kind of best practices, or when you're sitting down with, I don't know, say one of the therapists that, comes your way, or that we send over to you guys, what's that process like, and how are you taking, like, extracting who they are and what they do and how they're different into a website, and what are some of the kind of best practices, or even like what you would consider non-negotiables for things that you feel like absolutely have to be on their site?
Yeah, great question. Okay. So the first thing I usually challenge each lead with is, what problem are you particularly the best at solving? And that usually unlocks a lot more, because I can really want a certain target market, or I can really provide all kinds of different services. But if I'm focused on helping, if I'm focused on good to the core quality business and quality content, the question should be exactly that. What problem am I most, Elon Musk says, how can I be most useful? I think that's important. But how can I serve in the best way here?
Yeah.
And then if we're applying that to, let's say, a therapist, okay. So we've worked with countless, I think our count is up to like 90 different therapists that we've worked with at this point, which is therapists like to talk about how, good or bad their service provider is. So
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun. And so we've learned a lot about this industry, of course.
Yeah.
And so let's say a therapist or anyone else comes to us, I'll ask that question. And we talk about StoryBrand specifically. A character has a problem. Okay, so if we're talking about specifically the problem that I'm best at solving, okay, well, how can we pair that up with the person who needs that thing solved the most? And if we can create this, I am the guide, hear me roar, here's my easy step plan. All you have to do is just this one thing. That usually yields to more clicks, more engagement, and a lot more if we're focused on the person visiting the website. And then how I, as the guide, can create a simple plan that solves that problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's no secret I'm a big fan of StoryBrand as well. And, a really great resource, and this is not like a paid plug. I mean, it'd be great if it was, but I don't think they need the extra marketing, is mystorybrand.com. You can create a free, what they call a brand script. I'm looking at my account now. I almost have 100 brand scripts in here that I've done both for my clients, but also for my own products, because they serve different purposes, or they solve different problems. So for instance, I have one for our fully booked program. You have a character, and you start with, what do they want, right? Well, they want to fill the empty slots on their calendar. They want to get fully booked, right? It's part of how we even named the program, is thinking about that ideal outcome they want. What gets in the way of it? So that character encounters a problem, right? That problem happens on multiple levels: internal, external, philosophical. And then they meet the guide, right? And this is where we come in. The guide expresses empathy and authority. I know what it's like, and I can help. Here's why I'm qualified to help. And then it gives them a plan, right? We're going to walk you through our 5-part process to clarify your message, get more website traffic, convert that traffic into paying clients that you love working with, or whatever. Even I'm about to buy my own product right now. It's so good,
So great. Subscribe. I'm subscribing right now.
You want to join?
Got me hooked up. Oh man, that's so good. Good stuff. And a good reminder. The brand script at StoryBrand is something that, I mean, we suggest to every single client, of course, too, because it just really gets us thinking about the path that we need to follow, our constant thinking along the way, because we're trying to train. This may sound a little strange, but we're trying to train how our clients think when they're going through our process too. And then on the flip side, we hope that our clients then train their customers with the same type of communication and behavior that we're trying to say. So I love those tools. They're good ones.
Too, in marketing artillery, which is, there's a lot of problems with the website development industry, right? And a lot of frustrated website owners when they come to you guys and say, I don't know, I've been paying the X number of dollars a month for, a year and a half and nothing's happened, right? Or I don't know what they're doing, or I don't know, they just plugged a template in and said that should be good, right? Whatever it is, there's so many opportunities to improve that consumer experience. And in your case, I think, again, I've sung your praises a lot on here, but you guys really nailed the design part, but you also nailed the project management part. That was the thing I was probably most impressed with. And again, Haley being behind a lot of that process, but we don't like to we already feel lost and confused as it relates to our website and how it works and all this. And then we've entrusted you, I've handed you some money, right, to solve this painful problem in my life. And I want to know that you have a process to take me through in terms of the website development process, because the website development process is bringing up big questions for me. Who am I? I didn't know I'd have to tell Jake like who I am, or what's the problem, or what's my niche, or whatever. You can ask those questions, help me figure it out. But it's also a process of uncovering who you are. What is your brand? What's your voice? What do you stand for? Do you have a solid identity in terms of who you are and how you help? So yeah.
What's funny is this industry that I've found myself in, the web design industry, is the wild, wild, wild west.
Yeah.
There is no regulation. There is no credentials. There is no, I mean, any ding dong with a laptop can raise their hand and say, I'm a web designer. And businesses will pay them big money to do it. It's crazy. I mean, think about just building literally anything else. that is even half as valuable to a business.
Right.
I mean, you're going to have to go through 17 different documents just to get the permit to get started, right? It's so with that, you have a lot of problems that pop up when it comes to, they had really good Google reviews.
Right.
Oh man, I just helped a doctor out literally this week. It was between us and another firm, and I kid you not, 45 days later, got an email. Luckily, we transferred her side over, and we're working with her now. But her biggest complaint was, how was I going to know? They had great Google reviews. They had this, they had that.
Right.
And like what you were saying here is, it's the process that is key. And I think people who are listening probably could understand this even in their own industry. If I'm a specialist,
of course,
right? I say no to some work so that I can say yes to some other work. Those are usually the type of people that are just better experts, and so can help in a lot more of an efficient way. So take us for an example, someone who's done that amount of volume. It is important to make sure that we're leaning on experience, because there's so many things, so many weird things that pop up in web. And
the therapist, it's an opportunity to define your own process. So a lot of times, therapy is kind of vague, abstract. We don't know where things are heading all the time. There's not always a beginning, middle, and end, yet we should try to articulate a process for therapy. Let's say you do something as specific as like, I don't know, premarital counseling. Maybe you have your own process that you take people through, and it roughly has 4 phases. Name those phases, name that process, show people that you have, even if it's just in your head, you have a process that you take people through every single day. And I bet all the therapists listening right now have a process.
Yeah.
For instance, I treat panic attacks with a very specific process called interoceptive exposure. It's something not a lot of therapists do, but there's a beginning, middle, and end to that. And so my job is in part to show people that process on my website, or at least show them some part of it. If not that, also to show them what's the process for getting started with me, right? Whether it's fill out this form, and then what happens? Well, you fill out this form, and then someone from our team will get back to you in 24 hours. And then what happens? Then we'll set up an intake call. Who's that intake call with? Is it with a therapist? Is it with the guy I want to work with? Is it with an intern? What is it, right?
Some machine?
Yeah. And building that trust, right? Because that trust is already in limbo, in part because we are getting more savvy as consumers and there's a lot of sketchy stuff out there. So if I haven't been hand delivered to a business, which again, in a lot of cases, there's literally 2, companies that I refer our clients to, and you guys are one of them.
Yes.
Because and that trust is already in question. Naturally.
There's a story that I remember. I think it might be in the Building a StoryBrand book. But anyway, Donald Miller's up there. He's giving a speech. He says, I have something very, very, very important to tell this theater of people. There's 300 people or so in this theater. Everyone stand up, follow me outside. It's like in Chicago or something. And I'll tell you this very, very important thing. I have a bullhorn out there. I have a stage. Let's go out there. I'll tell you this very important thing. Get up, boom. Everyone follows him outside the theater. He gets up, he grabs the bullhorn, and he says, all right, here's this very important thing that I have to tell you. People do what you tell them to do.
Right.
So many people make that mistake on their website too. When it comes to breaking out your process, just tell them what you want them to do and what you promise to do. And if you can do those things, that will increase booking alone.
100%. I mean, maybe not 100, but like 70%.
Right.
Increase it. No, just kidding.
Asterisks. See the fine print for details.
Donald Miller like really drills on this, and look, you look at his own content or a video that he makes, like a 4-minute video or something. There's an extremely clear call to action, and there's nothing to be confused about it. If the call to action, book a call with our team member right now, he will say that directly in the camera and make sure without any confusion that that's the next step. And I think that's a great rule of thumb for every piece of content we make, right? And a lot of therapists out there are making a lot of content now, right? A lot of therapists are stepping into this world of, okay, let's say I've got a website. Now what? I got to make it go. Or I've got a website, and in a business like mine, like Private Practice Workshop, I'm making content all the time.
Yeah.
And there's people that will come and they'll be served here. They'll learn from this podcast for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years before they ever take any action. That's part of the business model, right? It's an ecosystem. But I need to call them to some sort of action, whether it's a lead magnet or applying to Business Made Human when it opens, or, subscribing to this channel, which gets them one step further into kind of our ecosystem, into our funnels.
And then don't forget about the secondary call to action, which we could do. Sign up, subscribe for my email list.
Yeah.
Grab those emails, everyone. Yeah, I love that. Those are really good tips, really, really good, important, not tips, principles that need to be followed on every good website.
Yeah.
Because a good website, I'll put air quotes up there. Yeah, it could be really subjective, but there are some objective things about what makes a good website. For sure.
Maybe we'll get into a few questions if you're up for it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's do it.
The first one is, what's your favorite color and why? No, I'm just kidding.
I always wear black clothes.
Do you? Yeah.
I have like 7 black t-shirts, and I sweat so much.
We're the same. I wear these gray t-shirts pretty much every day. My wife makes fun of me. My closet is like Doug Funny, like a cartoon that is 7 of the same outfits.
I buy like the same like black Lululemon t-shirt.
That's solid. I also get quite sweaty, and some people know that. And now more people know that.
I am I'm sweatier than average. That's for sure.
It's like a bumper sticker, like your screen name when you're like a teenager. Sweater than average, like 824. Okay, let's go. I'm trying to find a good question here, and if you guys are here live, go ahead and start asking your questions in the comments. Let me give you a softball here, Jake. Lauren asks, what's your opinion on having an intro video on your homepage and other videos on your specialty pages?
Great question. So John, my business partner, he actually created a course called Break Into Web, and they were market testing the landing page. And the market tests came back again and again and again and again, that people land on a website and they read the big words and then they read the small words. But what are they looking for? Oh, they see a video, boom. It's like 90% people click that. I mean, not click, but look for the video and their mouse hovers over it. So having a video on your homepage, yes, it should be short. It should be a minute. It should be really quick and to the point. It should be clear and simple. And it should talk about how you help your customers survive and thrive. Do those 2 things in about a minute, you should be good to go. Videos on the homepage, great idea.
Yeah, nailed it. I would agree. I think there's a lot of reasons to have video, both from a brand perspective, a trust perspective, even an SEO perspective. Maybe host that video on YouTube, Google Lens YouTube, no big surprise there. You're just getting people more engaged with your site. Maybe on your services pages, you have, some videos as well to explain, here's how EMDR works. Here's how you'll know if it's right for you. Here's the 3 guys of EMDR. A good call to action, something like that. I totally agree with Jake. I mean, going back to StoryBrand, a brand script for your video. Let's say a video that's really just this intro to kind of your business and who you are. You could start with a brand script and speak right to the camera and speak right to your consumer. What do they want, right? You're a therapist and you got empty slots on your calendar, right? The phone hasn't rang in weeks. You look at your Google Analytics and it still says, only 2 people came this month, and one of them is your grandma, right? Whatever.
Got some humor in there. That's important.
And what they want, right, is a fully booked practice with ideal clients that they love working with, right? Here are the things that get in the way.
Right? Yeah, you could even Google, there's a Donald Miller blog post. You could find it if you just Google it, like Donald Miller tips on writing a short video. And he talks about some things to follow. Answer this question, then this question, how to make like a 1-minute video. And it's pretty much just a questionnaire that you just have to answer those questions. And then you have a minute of content.
I think that's great because a lot of times, the reason why therapists don't turn on the camera is because they don't know what to say, they're self-conscious. I got to operate the camera itself, whether there's a technical component. But um, I think taking your phone, if it's a newish iPhone that's from the past 2, 3, 5 years, getting in front of the brightest window you can find. Maybe it's in your office, like me right now. I've got therapist couch, a painting, some diplomas, a bookshelf, something that looks on brand and appropriate. Get in front of that window, set your phone up on that window. You can play with the rule of thirds if you want, if you want to go further into kind of framing yourself, and then just try it and imagine that your ideal client or a client you actually work with is sitting there on the other side of that camera, and just talk to them. Right. And go back to this brand script piece. And again, I would err on the side of brevity, especially if you're not used to making content, or especially, again, the purpose here for this homepage video is to get people to take the next step. This isn't a like, let me tell you all my credentials and this and that, and, the entire story of why I became a therapist. That could come later, but for now, like, I think brevity is key in having a strong call to action there. So I think video content is good if it supports your brand and you take a little time to make it decent, and you have a good, clear message. If you're just, boring and unenthusiastic, and, it could make your brand look worse. So just put a little effort into it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Check out our intro video. It's about a minute 15 at artillerymedia.com. It kind of answers the question: is your website working for you?
Right.
Does it stun? Does it help accomplish your goals? And it kind of dives into what that means. It takes about a minute, some background shots of our office and us smiling and laughing. Yeah. We put a little bit of money into it. We had someone just walk around, but I mean, for a therapist, it could be forward facing.
Yeah.
Even face cam. I mean, like you're FaceTiming. Those videos get views.
Totally. It's most of what TikTok is. It's like this informality and this quick content. And I think, to your point, like, if you get into it and you say, like, I really want to make video even more part of my business, you might get into hiring a production company to do a promo style video. We did one for Business Made Human, where we had a whole crew come out to our live event, and they interviewed, our clients. They interviewed me. They showed me running groups. They have a lot of B-roll footage, and they're going to make that look really good. Same thing with your video. I know the one you're talking about. So that's a step you might take. You take a couple grand and say, if a couple grand generates a whole mini grand, which is really good English, for your business, is that worth it? Once you have a good idea of purpose, and maybe you worked on your script and stuff like that.
Yeah, great points. Great question. Video is the number one media when it comes to, like, bang for buck right now, for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's just getting started. Moving along, we've got another question here from Halisha. She says, how do I determine the value of what I'm currently using versus what is being offered? And I think with a website option, all the website options out there. She says, set up a website where I pay a separate rate, and the EHR that I currently have offers it in the package. So, Jake, I mean, one thing she's maybe referencing is some of the bigger EHRs in our industry, like Simple Practice, now have like a website builder, like a template kind of builder that some therapists, I think, are tempted to get into. I don't necessarily think it's the go-to personally, or the convenience, but she's asking, like, how do I know if I've got enough of a website for where I'm at?
Right. Okay. Here's a question. How do you know if your office space is right, or if your home is right? Rhetorical. Point being, you'll never be like, oh, this is perfect, or this is right. Does it accomplish the goals? Does it work for you? And the problem of, oh, my current website is working for me. Sure. But can we track those metrics? Of course we can. We can track the bounce rate. We can track the click rate. We can track those things. But having a professional, having someone who's done this before, being able to dig deep into the process of understanding a business, and crafting something that is short and concise, or even just doing that yourself.
Yeah.
Those two things, either option is fine. But the point is, how do I determine of the value of what I have versus what I could have?
Yeah.
Is it clear and simple? Is it building trust? Would you say, are you proud of it? Could you
Right.
say, if you're at a cocktail party, this is what I tell clients sometimes. If you're at a cocktail party, let's say it's Christmas coming up. It's Christmas in July right now, right? Well, almost 6.5 months from now, Christmas. You're at a cocktail party and someone comes up to you and asks that classic question. Oh, what do you do? Can you just say, go to my website? Can you say that? Are you confident that it would take someone there and take them down a path that you've created? If you can't say that, then I'd say that you probably don't have a website that is of value at all to you.
Yeah.
Because having a website that people go to and is off-putting, like you said earlier, John, it can even be worse.
Yeah. I love it. And a little freebie here is, if you're struggling with that one-liner, your elevator pitch, or that cocktail hour of what do I do? I agree. Like, is it a website you're proud of? You'd be proud to send people to. Also, have you gotten clear again on who you are and how you help? So a little quick and dirty template is, I use blank method to help blank, group of people achieve blank result, right? I use I'm EMDR to help female veterans break free from trauma. Mic drop, and then you just walk away. And they're like, but what's your website? And you're like, oh crap. I forgot about that part. Something like that though. And then going back to like, do I need a better site or a bigger site or to spend more money? I'm one to say therapists in general need to embrace spending more on a site, on a high quality site, on a high caliber site, working with a design firm like Jake's, because it's not getting any easier to stand out in our market, right? There's more therapists than ever. They continue to graduate from school. We have venture capitalists, getting involved in our industry and throwing money at marketing. And so a $60 website versus a $6,000 website is going to be felt. It's going to be seen from a mile away, as it should be. So I also think it's one of the few assets that we really need to purchase in this business. I'm not opening a restaurant where I need $100,000 of kitchen gear to just make a single hot dog, right? Or whatever, to make a croissant. If someone said, you're going to give me $10,000 to build a website, it's going to stand up head and shoulders above every other therapist in your market. That website is going to go on to help you generate $100,000 for the next 10 years. Would you take that deal? Right? $1 million of revenue from a $10,000 website. The problem is we're too short-sighted. And a lot of times as therapists, we're short-sighted. We've got money issues. I've got my own stuff I've talked about in here before. And so there's that hesitation, right, to invest in that way. But I think that the difference is felt. I think trust is a factor again. I think a really solid website can last you a while, maybe not 10 years, but it can last you a while. And then maybe you just need a rebrand, or you have something really solid you can build off of. And then the rest of your brand is really resting on your website as a solid foundation. Yeah, I mean, my goodness, here you go. Yeah. Someone in the chat, day one private practice skills, says my $2,000 website brought me 6 figures in a year. So there you go.
Yeah. This one quote that we like to use a lot is, your perception determines your reception. And we like to use that on our own website. We found this awesome office space. It's this cool brick, and it just screams creativity and cool. And so we walked up there and we're like, wow, this just feels like us. And we wanted the feeling on our website to be the same feeling that we got when people walked up into our office space. And what that does is it creates this feeling of trust. It creates this feeling of, oh, wow, these guys must have it together. On the flip side, if your website is, like you said, the guy at the beginning, is confusing and everywhere and disjointed and slow, well, people will think that you are confusing and disjointed and slow.
Exactly.
It's important it's important to, in a market that's oversaturated, to command your space. Tell people where to go. Tell people what to do. If you can be the greatest helper in that space, you can be the shepherd telling people, fill out this form and then do these things,
Yeah.
you're just going to get more business.
Yeah. And you can get rich quick like me. Or, no,
Yeah.
just kidding. This is, I can take a stab at this question. It's more like a consultant question, but day one skills is asking for branding tips for scaling your business to mentorship to help other therapists build an online private practice. I mean, roughly kind of what I've done here with Private Practice Workshop. And just real quick, some of the iterations that this business has taken was I solved a painful problem in my life first, meaning I came out of grad school, didn't know anything about business, but I was a really good therapist. I started to learn about business the hard way, long nights and weekends, Googling it and figuring out how to build a site. What is SEO? How to do copywriting? And then I started teaching that to therapists for free and found that there was a real need for it. It was solving painful problems. And then I said, well, what's the next step after that? Maybe I sell it for, a group, a mastermind group for therapists, and it's low cost and just for therapists locally in my area in San Francisco. You take that to the next iteration, right? You take it online, you start creating content to build that trust and credibility in the industry. You get on other people's podcasts, right? For marketing, right? For digital marketing, for my fully booked program, and things like that. So I would say number one, though, in this kind of business, like an online business, the content is key, right? You will notice we are kind of everywhere all the time, and we have to be for this kind of business. That's part of how we build that, show that we can have problems. And once we've added enough value to your life, it's this psychological need to tip the scale and to pay us back and to join a program or join Fully Booked or join Business Made Human. So, yeah, Jake, I don't know if you want to add to that. And again, these guys, they built the PPW site. So
you did, you explained that pretty well. Thought leadership and content creation is a bear.
Yeah.
And I don't do it. I'm not a content creator. I wouldn't call that. I run a shop, help build great websites.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of content creators. I have a lot of content creators clients. I have this one client, kjandcompany.co. Check out her food blog. She creates a unique recipe every single day.
Wow.
And photographs it. So it is a lot of, like you know better than I do that it is a lot of work to brand yourself as a leader in this space. You have to create a lot of content. Content has to be quality. Video works really, really great. And it has to be good enough that people want to share it.
I think another piece, StoryBrand, I think really helps. Also, Chris Ducker with a D wrote a book called The Rise of the Youpreneur. It's about building a personal brand. And so out of all the private practice consultants out there, part of it is having unique messaging, unique programs. Part of it is the personal brand piece, though, as to you can learn concepts here. You can learn concepts from other private practice consultants. What is it that draws us together, right? I mean, Jake even mentioned in the beginning, it's like, we probably talked about music in one of the first times we talked. I see the guitars. If I was in my home office, you would see my guitars. We would talk about that, right? It's like, I think we have a similar kind of brand of like friendliness, of trust, of being real, being human. That's a big part of my brand too, and Business Made Human, and how that all came to be. If you want someone who's like extremely methodical, type A, this and that, that's not necessarily me as your practice consultant. Or someone who's like extremely good at like HR policies, that's not me. And sometimes it takes a while to figure that out. Sometimes the process of discovery is creating content itself and just turning on the camera and teaching what you know so far, finding what lights you up. So
yeah, great. I love that.
Another website question here from Lauren. How important is having social media in order to drive traffic to your site or build your online presence? So we're getting back to, I would say, like, let's call it a brick and mortar practice for this question.
That's a great question. And I hope that you don't come away from this question, Lauren, I think is your name, feeling like I didn't answer it, but it depends greatly. Artillery, we have found absolutely zero social media assistance. We just are inactive essentially on social media. I mean,
this is why I love you guys.
We post almost never.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because we're too busy building websites.
Yeah, exactly. Doing good work.
Well, yeah. And we send out information to our clients. Like I said, we do about 70 websites a year. So currently we host about 300 to 320 sites, and that'll be up to 370, 390 websites this time next year at the rate we're going. So does it need to be important? Yes. Especially starting out, get on there, comment, follow other people that you're following. It's important to get started. But once you have an established presence, it just completely depends on what you want to do. If I was doing what you're doing, John, social media is my lifeblood.
Yeah.
But because you're going after individuals.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going after big businesses, or at least just businesses. And so it's just a different, usually Dean, the carpet cleaner, who I want him to come and pay me $3,000 for a simple WordPress website, and I'll host it forever and be his website guy forever because he's in business for 45 years. I love Dean, the carpet guy. He's my guy. You know what I mean?
Love Dean too.
So that guy's not on social media, and he sure as heck isn't finding his web designer on social media. So it depends on what you're doing. It depends on your target market. It depends on who you're going for. But at the same time, I'll end with saying this. It is always important to look professional everywhere you are. So if you're a business and you don't have a Facebook page, that looks sketchy. If you have a Facebook page, it's not professional or not consistent with your website. Can someone go to your website and go to your Facebook page and realize that it's like at least the same business? Does it have the same profile picture? Is it consistent? So those are kind of all the things that I'll loosely spread about social media. Clear as mud.
Love it. And I didn't pay Jake to say that, although I'm happy to. The reason, and again, if you guys have been around a while listening to our stuff here, I don't teach social media for building a private practice, and a couple reasons why, right? Number one, most clients don't go to a place like Instagram to find a therapist. They go to Google, right? Or they go to trusted people in their life, right? Or trusted people in the community, like Jake is talking about. I think for most therapists that are trying to build a local business, you're building a local business, right? I want to get in front of people that are looking for my service right now. So my quick and dirty marketing strategy is, and probably will always be, build a great website, right? With great copy, clear calls to action, that's beautiful, that's engaging, that's compelling, has a clear focus, a clear niche, and then be obsessed with Google, right? 3 parts of Google: Google Ads, Google My Business, and SEO. I'm focused on those things obsessively, with a bit of email marketing supporting all that to tie it in and just stay top of mind of people. That's my very boring marketing approach. I've always done it. I'm doing a 3rd practice right now.
It works.
And I've never posted Instagram to do that.
Yep.
Now, if I'm famous on TikTok, there's a therapist I know who's, got really bad local business marketing for his practice, but is TikTok famous. Right. That's fine, but you have to do something with that traffic then, right? You make some videos about codependency and it blows up. That's fine, but a million views on a TikTok video, what are you going to do with that traffic then? How many of those million people then want therapy? Or how many therapy clients can you take on? Or do you have a course on codependence? Whatever it is, like, how are you going to take that traffic and lead it into your business?
Or do you just want to be a therapist content creator where you just create those videos, 3 videos a day, and crank them out and help a million people a day? I mean, that's
different business.
And another thing, the only other thing I would add to this is the other way to use in social media is community building. And that's not so much, it's more of creating a group and getting that group in a corner. Now I'm making it sound a little creepy, maybe. Not just your
dark and musty corner.
Not just a feed where maybe 10% of your followers are going to see your posts.
Exactly.
An actual place where there's camaraderie, there's communication, there's back and forth. That place, whether that's the comment section on a YouTube, I mean, that's a pretty popular place these days. Or a website comments, or a Facebook group. You want to create that community. And so however you feel like you can do that best, whether you're just really good at email, do it in MailChimp. You're really good in Facebook, do it in Facebook. Do it how you like to do it. Do it how you're going to be best at doing it anyway. But having that community piece is definitely an important thing.
It's great stuff. Before I forget, Jake, I want to take a second to thank our sponsor for the show. and that is Jane. I'm going to tell you about Jane for 1 second here. So some things in clinic life just happen. Another no-show from No-Show Shauna. That's really funny. Last minute cancellations you can't afford and not enough time in the day to do all your therapy notes. Fortunately, when life gives you lemons, Jane makes lemonade. Jake, stop distracting me. Jane is a practice management software designed to make your day-to-day easier. Ask your clients who no-show frequently to save a credit card on file. Set up automatic waitlist notifications to fill your schedule from cancellations, and take advantage of Jane's mental health specific charting templates to get a head start on your notes. You can learn more by heading to jane.app/mental health. That's jane.app/mental health, and book a one-on-one demo. You can also mention John Clark to receive a 1-month grace period applied to your account. Thanks for bearing with me. Jake is the partner company of Jane. It's really not
Jake and Jane. Ever heard of it?
Yeah, it's just getting started.
You definitely need a project management software.
There you go.
And if you can get one with a human touch, gosh, that sounds about as good as it can get. So
yeah, there you go.
Check them
out. Jake, we'll start wrapping up here, but I guess any like final words, or if there's one thing you want therapists to remember about this interview and about websites, what do you think that is? And obviously, how can people reach out to your team and get started with you guys?
Yeah. Well, if you have questions about your website, or if you just want to chat, book a call, you can hit us up, Artillery Media. Just check us out on the contact page, send me a note, and that'll be me responding to you. Book a call with me. I'll send you a form to fill out about your website. I want to know more. But if you're doing it yourself, if you just want to know more, if you're just here for some information, well, if you haven't checked out the book, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, gosh, that is just a lot of good stuff. Other than that, just make sure that we're following the principle of, is it clear? And is this helping my customer survive and thrive? If you can answer those 2 questions, then you have good content.
Excellent. That's great, Jake. And how can people reach out and send them? And we'll have obviously links to everything in the descriptions here.
Well, I'm Jake Kramer. I'm the co-owner of artillerymedia.com. Like I said, we build websites primarily in WordPress using the Divi theme. You can check out our website, artillerymedia.com. Shoot me a message, shoot me a note, and we can get started chatting about your website.
Great stuff. And again, I can't say enough about Jake and their team. I've sent a lot of therapists to you guys because I trust you all, and you're on that very short list of people I trust to build websites. So thank you guys for taking good care of our clients. That being said, guys, great to be back with you all again today. Really fun conversation with Jake. And I've got to give some sort of call to action, right? Got to follow my own advice.
That's right.
And the exciting news is that our Business Made Human Mastermind program is opening up again in August, and it fills up quick every single time. The program opens just every 6 months. It's a weekly mastermind that's designed to help you build a business that's really driven by your purpose and your values in life. And we're going to help you figure those things out, craft it into a vision for your life and your business, and help you get there. And it's a really wonderful program, near and dear to my heart. So to get on the wait list or the interest list for that program, just go to privatepracticeworkshop.com, scroll down, click on Business Made Human, and make sure to get on that list. Because once the doors open, you don't want to miss it. So there you have it. Thanks for being here. And Jake, thank you again so much for being here. And thanks to our sponsor, Jane. We appreciate that so much. And there you have it, folks. We'll see you next time. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.